press record. So good morning, everybody. It's Kristen, and we are here with Julianne Nagle this morning. And I'm going to read a little bit about Julianne before she gets started with her training and conversation this morning. Julianne is from the Emerald Seminar, and her former occupation was homemaker and mother. So we had that in common. And she began her Mary Kay business in 1987 and was an independent sales director in December of 1988 and a national sales director in 2001. She was $1 million sales director 2 times and an inner circle sales director 3 times. Her fast fun facts is that she is motivated by achievements, helping others achieve and making a difference in women's lives. And her best asset is honesty, drive, and never, ever give up attitude. And her favorite vacation spot, which I've actually been there before, is Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Yay!
So I know. And I didn't want to read your whole paragraph. I'm going to read a little bit of her Mary Kay bio that's on In Touch because it's so good. She said, I can make a difference. Independent Senior National Sales Director Julianne Nagle knows what a difference the Mary Kay opportunity made in her life. She says she doesn't recognize the reclusive wife and mother she was 13 years ago before she started her Mary Kay business. At first, I was so afraid of people, but once I saw how the products could transform my customers into happier people, I went through a transformation as well. And I just love that so much about you, Julianne, is that you're out to make a difference in people's lives. Kind-hearted, sweet as can be. You're that kind of that quiet power. You know, and everybody has a gift. We're all gifted. And your gift is an internal one, but also an eternal one, I can tell.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm just so glad that I'm your friend and that we get to go on this wonderful national journey together and that you're going to be with my people this morning.
Well, thank you for all of that, and what a great, blessed way to start my day. And I'm so excited. I see across here that we've got quite a few people on, and this is a new technology for me. So I love phone conference calls because y'all can't see me. So this morning I had to get up extra early to stay with my daily routine and get cute. So here we go. But I am excited because, you know, when a national sales director pays you the honor of having you speak to her people, that speaks volumes to me of our trust level that we have with one another. And because I always choose very carefully who is in front of my consultants and especially my leaders. So congratulations for taking time out of your schedule for being on this call. And my prayer this morning is that what I share with you, and I have thought long and hard, and I asked Kristen, what is it that she would like me to pour into you? So a couple of things were mentioned. Here we are 5 months into the year. This is hitting on to the tip of the top of the 6th month, and there's so much that you can do in the next 6 3/4 of the month until June 30th. But a lot of times we stop ourselves. And why do we stop ourselves? We stop ourselves from our greatness and doing things that we know we want to do, we desire to do, we know would benefit other people, not just ourselves, our families, but it would also benefit all those that we are the leaders and the stewards of. And so this morning, as I talked with her, she asked me to think about times when I faced challenges and how did I overcome those challenges and how did I dig myself up from the depths of that depression? How did I dig myself up from the depths of being in front of a large goal that seemed impossible? And I want you to stop for a second because Catherine, or Audrey Hepburn, one of my favorites, her favorite quote is, impossible really says, I'm possible. So if you look at the word impossible and split it in two, I'm possible. And that's what it is. Anything that seems impossible says that you are possible to make it happen. So when I thought through this, because she wanted me to tell you 2 stories, my I story, actually a whole bunch, overcoming things, and then also a little biggest challenge I've ever had in my life. And so I'm going to go through, and I'm going to read to you, but share and insert and kind of go off script, a speech that I shared at seminar last year in the Emerald Division. So I'm going to have you just pretend with me. I'm a storyteller and I use visuals. So I'm going to see if I can get this to be right here. So I want you guys to just go with me for a minute into an imaginary world. And I want you to envision a very, very tiny cage, a very small cage with bars on it. And then I want you to envision this baby lion, and it's placed inside that tiny cage. It's very uncomfortable and confining and very restricting for this baby lion. Well, as the lion starts to grow, the cage becomes more and more confining, and it will eventually stunt this lion's growth, and the animal will never, ever be free. Well, this hypothetical cage represents fear. Yes, fear. Fear confines and restricts growth. The difference between the lion's cage and ours as humans is that we, you guys, have thought ourselves into that cage. Nobody put us there but us. By succumbing to our fears of scary and uncomfortable situations that we all find ourselves in every single day, we call it, ironically, staying in our comfort zone. But you know what? That's an oxymoron, because it really is not comfortable at all. Well, the key to unlocking that cage is bravery. Now, bravery is not one heroic act. Mark Twain defines bravery as: bravery is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, but not absence of fear. Bravery is simply being afraid, pausing, acknowledging that you're afraid, and then becoming fully aware that the reason we are given those difficult, challenging situations is actually, and in my opinion, simply wonderfully, an opportunity to grow. It allows us growth. And by walking through what scares us, we earn what I call bravery building blocks, which become the cornerstones and foundation of our character. Each one of those blocks form our character. But if we choose to give in to fear time after time, we tighten the bars on that self-imposed cage. We run a very, very high risk of stunting our own growth and remaining the same, or worse yet, regressing. You know, the acronym for fear, as we all know, is false evidence appearing real. So what we think really scares us is not the situation so much as it is what we allow our minds to conjure up what might go wrong. This might happen if I go for the big goal that I've got in my heart. What if, what if, what if? But you know what? Those aren't facts. Those are fictions. But if we just, when we approach something like that, I find that if I just take a really deep breath, so everybody do it with me, go. Medical doctors have proven that when we bring that much oxygen in and we let it out, we calm and slow down our nervous system. And when we can do that, we think more clearly and we respond more with real intent and what we choose to do, and not in a place of confusion of fear. If we will just connect with that God-given inner higher self and listen to that voice instead of being swept away by the herd of wild horses in our head of those ridiculous thoughts. And again, they are fiction. They are not fact. Do you know that 75% of all the things we worry about and conjure up are not even real? They are those imaginary thoughts that tighten the bars on that cage that we put ourselves into, because they usually never ever play out the way that we have imagined them to. But if we back away and we do not seize the opportunity for growth, when the next fearful situation crosses our path, our mind has become more powerful and it will override that higher inner self. It's a real vicious cycle that we get sucked into, gang, but we can stop it. You are in control. You know, early in my career, very early, I read a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Its message was very simple. No matter what the situation, no matter how frightful it is, you must, and I reiterate, must walk through it and always think whatever happens, I can handle it. That book had a profound impact on my life. It also said that the growth that we attain is not necessarily for us, but it's really for others. Because when we conquer our fears, it allows others to grow as well. Because we are being watched by others, and they need to see our bravery and our strength as leaders. They grow because we dared to grow. You know, before Mary Kay, as Kristen said, I was extremely and painfully shy, and I was severely depressed on antidepressants. Everything and everyone scared me. I believed that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't pretty enough. And for 31 years of my life, I allowed those fictitious thoughts to lock me in that confining, horrible cage. Inside of myself, I was being eaten up by fear. Luckily, a friend, Martha K. Riley, introduced Mary Kay into my closed and dark world. My husband said, "Try it. What's the worst thing that could happen?" Well, I did, but I promptly did nothing for the first 6 months because I knew that I would fail. Then I read that book. And I thought, what is the worst thing that could happen? So I took that deep breath and I listened to that inner self, and I stepped out in one act of bravery. And I held my first party. I was scared to death, but I did it anyway. And I'll tell you, it wasn't pretty or perfect. And I made a ton of mistakes. I was too afraid to ask for the sale. I was just proud that I hadn't passed out during the class. And when someone told me that they wanted to buy the Cadillac collection, I said in shock, "You do? That's an awful lot of product." It was a real great clothes, I know. But she ignored my fear and she bought it anyway. That party was a bravery building block in strengthening my inner self, my character, and my confidence. That same year, I went to seminar. I brought my husband kind of as a shield so I wouldn't have to interact with anyone. Attending was another giant bravery building block in my growth. At seminar, I caught the vision. I came home and I went on to earn my car. I became a director in 2 months with double the required production. I was #1 in my DIQ class, and I earned my Cadillac just a few short months after debuting. My unit did $500,000 my first full year as a director, and I earned the coveted Diamond B for sharing this opportunity. Every day there were new situations that were filled with some more fictitious fears, but I simply walked through those fears, and then I walked to the next one, and through that one, and through the next one, and the next. And I did it anyway, no matter how scared I was. Was it painless? No. But guys, growth is supposed to hurt. When a child has growing pains and says, "Mommy, my legs hurt," you don't tell her or him to quit growing. You let them grow and explain to them that that is how we grow. It hurts to grow. So feel the pain and grow. My senior, she used to take me warm chatting, and that scared me beyond anything I've ever had. But on one of those outings, I saw this beautiful blonde woman sitting with a friend, and she was eating yogurt. I was not brave enough to approach her. So my director said if I didn't go talk to her by the time she counted to 10, that she would stand up and scream that I had stolen her purse. So I bolted over there and I babbled something, and she booked with me out of pity, I'm pretty sure, because I was pretty pathetic. And again, it wasn't pretty or perfect at all, but I did it. And she, you know what? She stood me up for 4 solid months. But bravery building blocks again. I kept calling her, getting rejected and calling. And those were huge bravery building blocks for me. But do you know what? She did become a consultant. And she went on to become the first $1 million director in the state of Utah. She was the Robin K. Varley, the sweet, beautiful Robin K. Varley. Another fictitious fear I had was telling my friends that I did Mary Kay. What would they think? A good friend of mine asked me what I was doing now for work, and I was brave enough to tell her about my Mary Kay career. She was very wealthy. She didn't need a job, but she asked what I was doing, so I shared. She listened, She signed, and she went on to become the #1 director in the entire Mary Kay world in 2003, and then on to NSD. That, friend, is the amazing Tammy Craig. Had I listened to the melodrama inside my head, I would have missed the opportunity to work with those two incredible women. And those women would not have changed the thousands upon thousands of lives that they have, one being mine. You know, you have to be prepared to be brave when the opportunity comes. You have to know the skills. You do have to have those. But the biggest thing you have to do is understand that fear by fear, step by step, you become stronger and you can more easily conquer the next fear. And the fears get bigger, but so do you. You will set yourself free, you guys. Inner peace and joy will replace fear. And it's such an incredible place to be. You know, Gandhi once said, living without fear is like being on vacation every day of your life. How would you like to be on vacation every day and free yourself from that cage? You know, I've been given some huge, huge opportunities for growth during my career. When I was in qualification to become a national, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And at the same time, I found the courage to leave an abusive husband. I chose, and I want you to listen very carefully to this, I chose not to tell anyone except immediate family so that I could stay focused on the goal. All I talked about was NSD. That act of bravery is what put me in this amazing NSD position. What we verbalize and think, it does shape our lives. Telling people your fears and your problems almost guarantees that you will not reach your goal. You can't focus on both things. If you talk about the negative, that's where your focus goes. Then you yourself derail your success. So my tip is zip it. Don't tell others. You know, in 26 months ago, I was given the biggest opportunity for growth in my entire life. I was riding my horse up a hill with a friend. We were in a canyon in a little ravine when my horse slipped and lost his footing and fell to his chest. Now, if you've ever watched a horse stand up, they have to gather their legs underneath them and they roll to the side and then they push with all their might to stand 1,400 pounds upright. Well, when Harley pushed, we went over backwards and he crushed me, all 1,400 pounds. And then I was surprised that I was alive and I looked up and I was underneath him, directly under his body. Well, if you know anything about horses, a spooked horse usually runs. I was about to be trampled, but I was so broken I couldn't move. All I could do was cover my head. But my sweet boy was born in my backyard, and he carefully stepped over me, and he went up on that hill to get out of my way to protect me. But once he was up there, he couldn't hold his weight. And all of a sudden, I watched his leg shake, and all 14 pounds came falling from that hill once again and crushed me from the top of my skull to the bottom of my toes. And then he did it again, stepped up, stepped away, got on the side of the hill, and for the third time, his leg shook, and that 1,400 pounds crushed me for the third time. And then it was totally still. It was so surreal. I thought, this cannot be happening to me. In less than 30 seconds, my entire life had been changed. My friend got to me and he said, I've called search and rescue, but they can't find us, so I have to go find them. He put my phone by me and I lay there all alone. I assessed my body. The pain was excruciating. I could not move my legs no matter how hard I had tried. You know, surprisingly, I didn't cry. I wasn't angry or sad, and I was not afraid. I lay there, and only one emotion was present: gratitude. I lay there flooded with gratitude, and I smile every time I think about it because it was the most peaceful, serene, just uplifting time of my life. and yet it was the lowest point of my life. I laid there flooded with gratitude for what an amazing life I had lived. I reviewed it. I thought that I had lived bravely and I'd done what I wanted to do, not allowing fear to stop me from anything and not waiting for the perfect time. And that I was so happy that I had worked hard when I could and that I had set a great example for my children by how I had lived my life. I thought I'm probably going to be at least a paraplegic and I'll need a wheelchair. So I'll get one like FDR's. He had a wicker kitchen chair and he never allowed anyone to see or treat him as an invalid. So I would follow his example of bravery. I could still work my Mary Kay business and I could be a motivational speaker to others in my situation. I simply thought, this is the next chapter of growth in my life. It's not what I had planned or wanted, but it's okay. I can handle it. When they finally reached me 45 minutes later, they could not find a pulse, and my heartbeat was so faint. I was in critical condition. I was rushed to a Trauma 1 ICU ER. My injuries were broken pubis right and left, punctured lung, 7 broken ribs, ruptured bladder, torn shoulder, head trauma, knee torn, crushed pelvis and sacrum, and severe internal bleeding. The next 2 weeks were several hospitals, 3 surgeries, 6 weeks in a rehab center, several major setbacks, and then a miracle surgery, taking out all my hardware, re-breaking my pelvis, and installing new titanium parts. And then home to a hospital bed for 4 months and to a wheelchair, then to crutches, then a walker and a cane. And now I'm walking. You know, that was such a huge victory and bravery building block for me. Each step of my recovery in the last 2.5 years has been fearful and painful. But do you know that those 29 years of bravery building blocks that are now my core foundation have allowed me to walk through this breathtakingly difficult and fearful opportunity for growth with strength. And I have to tell you, as weird as it sounds, I wouldn't trade this journey for anything, pain and all. It's like a gift that just keeps on giving more lessons and more growth every day. I see the world and people with fresh eyes. The most impactful lesson my adventure has taught me, I learned about 7 months after my adventure. I was thanking my doctor for saving my life, and he pushed himself away from the computer and he looked at me and said, Julianne, let's be clear. You saved your own life on that hill while waiting for search and rescue. You were bleeding to death internally. That's why they couldn't find your pulse. But because you remained calm, your heart rate stayed slow. And had you given in to fear and panic, you would not have made it to the hospital for me to put you back together. So the lesson learned here, ladies, is people that panic in a fire perish. When you panic, when you're going for a big goal and it doesn't look like you're going to make it, because I didn't think I was going to make it, nor did the doctors or the search and rescue. But when you panic, you most assuredly will not make it. You will not be seen through that. Fear causes you to make choices that will not bring you growth, success, or happiness. They're just going to make that cage tighter and tighter every time. I never have once referred to this as my accident. It has always been my adventure. Life is an adventure, and an adventure is filled with things that scare us and delight us. You know, that day on that hill, I made a decision. I decided that I was going to face this adventure by listening to that strong inner self, that higher self, that divine spark that we all have, and finding deep inside of me just 30 seconds of bravery. And then I would find the next 30 seconds, and then the next, and the next. And I would just walk through whatever I had to deal with. You know, today, I live grateful for every single given moment, no matter what it contains, good or bad, because every moment, you guys, is truly a gift. We didn't earn it. We didn't buy it. It is given to us. And the gift within the gift of each moment is the opportunity to do something beautiful and positive with that moment. We say opportunity only knocks once, but I've come to learn that that's not true. Every moment contains a brand new opportunity for you to do something amazing. I have learned to stop, look, listen, and then act. Most of us react, and that's what gets us in trouble. And it would have killed me had I chosen to react. I thank Mary Kay Ash herself every day for her bravery in having a dream and her courage to see it through, because the story that I just shared with you of my adventure would have very well had a very different outcome had she not been brave, because I simply followed her example and I grew. You know, on March 6, 2015, I got back on my horse, and that was a huge victory for me, both physically and emotionally. I was walking and getting stronger every day. And on April 29th, 2015, I was preparing for the NSD trip to London. Kristen, you'll remember. I noticed something felt very, very wrong. I went to the doctor. They took x-rays. My surgeon was in Kenya until August. His PA looked at my x-rays and said, "Looks fine, go and have a great time." The next day, as my daughter pulled us up to the curb at the airport, my doctor called. He said, "Julianne, there's no easy way to tell you this. Your titanium plates have broken. We have to start all over again." You know, I was in shock and I was devastated and said to him, "I cannot do this a third time." And he said, "Yes, you can. If anyone can, I know you can. Now go to London. It'll give you time to wrap your head around all of this." You know, I had kind of conditioned my doctor to think only positive and speak positive thoughts. So he poured it back into me. My offspring, Tammy Craig, was checking in and she was waiting for me. My daughter went and told her while I sat and cried for just 2 minutes in that car. Tammy came, she hugged me, we cried together, and then she said, "I'm so sorry and I can't believe this, but let's follow the doctor's orders and go plug into the positive, strong women and forget all of this for 1 week. I know you and you won't tell anyone." And I didn't. It was the best emotional medicine. The vibrations that were poured into me by my sister NSDs renewed and calmed my mind. They were all so proud of my recovery and that I was walking. And I just received that message. You know, talking about our problems gives them power and a voice, and it doesn't heal them any faster. It only enhances and magnifies. So when you're scared about a big goal, ask for answers. Don't talk about the fears or problems. I waited 5 months for my surgeon, and while I waited, I didn't talk about it. I prepared for it. Not one person except my family knew about the problem that was ahead of me. I traveled to all my people around the United States. I worked creating momentum with my area. I went to seminar and I stood on stage and gave the speech you're hearing, Bravery. But I'm adding to you the second part because I didn't tell them that I was standing on that stage with a broken pelvis and having to start over with the pain that I was enduring. Again, I plugged into those positive vibes at seminar. Never, ever miss an opportunity to be around people that can feed your heart, your soul, and your mind with positivity. My youngest daughter got married during that time. It was a wonderful time with friends and family, and I focused on being filled with love and joy, and we didn't talk about what was happening and what was going to happen. And then I took a personal road trip, Kristen, to those mountains, my mountains, the Tetons, because I always get grounded there, and I tuned in to my higher power. Each time they did this surgery on me, the risk of paralyzation was in the 90 percentile, and I needed to remove that thought and that fear. So I came home on Friday, and on Saturday we did our fall advance, and I rode my horse on Sunday, and on Monday I had surgery, totally at peace and without any fear. Gandhi's feeling of being on vacation, I truly feel that. As ugly as that time was, I was at peace. My daughter and 14-year-old grandson had to move in to care for me because I couldn't be left alone. They've been with me for the last 2.5 years. Now, my grandson at 14 was extremely angry about this change in his life, and he made it known to me and everyone else. He'd been running with a really bad crowd that were into drugs, and I remember thinking, who is this kid? I don't even like him. But there was so much tension in our house. They argued constantly. The vibrations were dark and heavy. And then I remembered, not only can I receive those kinds of negative vibrations, but I can send vibrations. And so I began a love-evolution, a love-evolution. I sent vibrations of love, joy, gratitude, and calmness. Randomly, I would just say to him, thank you. Thank you for being here, and that I loved him and how much I appreciated him. He would come back with his negative grunts of how he hated all of this, and he was so unkind. But in time, my persistence in love-evolution, the vibrations did shift in our home. There was less fighting, more kindness, and more love. One night, he shared with me that his best friend had killed herself and taken her own life at age 13 because she couldn't deal with all the bullying and the pressure. He broke down and told me that he too had been so bullied that he seriously contemplated taking his own life. He said, I love you, Grams, because your adventure saved my life. And he curled up in my bed and he sobbed, and I held and rocked him, and my heart once again swelled with gratitude. Another gift from what appeared to be a tragedy that day on that hill, my grandson's life. 26 months later, he is positive, happy. He's a leader. He earned a Peacemaker Award at school, and I am so proud of who he be. I read that when you raise up one life, just one, you raise up 30,000 other lives. Mary Kay Ash has raised the vibration of the world by her one thought in 1963 of wanting to enrich women's lives. And I'm eternally grateful one of those lives was mine. I am so grateful that God postponed the date on my tombstone, because now I can make a bigger difference with what I've learned. I believe learning to be the controller of your internal radio is a lifesaver. So I've got an acronym for you to help you get through it and some of the lessons I've learned. And then I'm going to close out here. So I want you to think of an acronym for SAVER, because this is a lifesaver. It's going to make transformations not just in your business world, but in your life. So how do you turn that dial in your head to go to where you need to be, of a place of calmness? Well, I want you to start each day by doing the following. And you need to get up early. To be able to be on this call and get cute, I had to get up at 4:30 to continue to do the practice that I know gives me that peace and calmness that no matter what happens in my life, I can handle it. So get up at least an hour earlier, or 30 minutes to start with, or even 15, but just do it. S for SAVER is silence. S stands for silence. Get your quiet time, meditate, do some deep breathing, be deep in prayer, but get still. Those monkey minds, those horses that go in our mind, that's what takes us away, and they pull us in all different directions. Thank heavens I was able to be still on that hill. A is for affirmations. Tell the universe and your higher power what it is you do want. Quit speaking what you don't want. You are affirming one way or the other, positive or negative. Place your order with the universe and let it know, hey, this is what I'm after. This is what I want. This is who I want to be. Place it loud and be clear. V is visualize. Make a vision board. Have that be in your quiet area so that you can see it. When you sit down to still your mind, that's the vision that goes into your mind. And then be calm, shut up, so that the channels are open so that you can receive the guidance that you need to get. And I want you to visualize the process far more than the end result. You cannot control the end result. I knew I could not control whether I would walk or be a paraplegic. I could not control that. But what I could control was the process, that 30 seconds and the next 30 seconds and the next 30 seconds. And I could think positive and I could be happy. And you know, when you have a situation happen to you, it isn't just happening to you. It's happening to all those around you. And how I responded instead of reacting made it easier for all my family that was so scared they were losing me to be at peace along with me. It made it easier. You know, the universe's job is to fulfill what you ask for. That's the universe's job. Our job is to do the activity required and to keep those channels clear so that you can receive. E is exercise. Get outside with nature. That's why I love the mountains so much. But here on my property, when I go out to visit my horse, I love just getting in the dirt. I love to connect with God's energy. It's out there, but we stay in our house, in our car. We do not connect. So get out and connect. Go for a walk. Even if it's snowing, you are out with the energy. The house is a shield against God's energy. So get out there and be with the earth. And R is to read. Spiritual works, books about how to still your mind, meditation. But read those spiritual works because in there they tell you, be still and know that I am God. Daily renew your mind. That's the Bible. But we miss those lines. We miss those lines. But it's asking us to be still so that he can communicate what we need to hear. And then read books on how to raise those vibrational frequencies. The highest one you can go is to gratitude. And where was the first one I went to on that hill? Gratitude. And that is what saved my life. Stillness and gratitude. Had I not done those two things, you would not be seeing my face today. Kristen would have a different story to tell you about Julianne Nagle. It would be one that was on that tombstone. So I know for a fact beyond any shadow of a doubt that makes all the difference. Learn how to raise that frequency. If you are blue and you are down, go immediately to find something to be grateful for, and you watch the magic that will happen in your world. So learn how to truly connect with others. Read books on that. How can I connect with other people? Because remember, every single person walking this face of the earth, whether you like them, you're angry with them, consultants aren't doing what you would like them to do, they have that same divine spark inside of them that you do, that I do, that Kristen does, that the most perfect person on the planet has. They all have it, and we are all the same. So love them. You know, I truly have come to know that love is the answer. S stands for scribe. List the qualities you do have. We're so busy looking at our faults. List the qualities you do have. Write it down. As you make your to-do list every day, you guys, I want you to make a to-be list. What do you and who do you want to become? You know, Arlene Lenars once said a saying, we are not human beings. We are humans becoming. So who do you want to become? Who do you want to be? On my headstone, I want one thing when I finally go. She made a difference. She made a difference, whether it's big or small, but I want to be that contributor. So that's on my to-be list. What's on yours? Most importantly, though, you guys, I want you to start and end your day with what you are grateful for. I have a journal beside my bed, and before my feet hit the ground, I grab that journal and I write 3 things that I am grateful for. And at night before my head hits that pillow, I write 3 more. So what are you grateful for? You will have such a transformation in how you see yourself, how you see the world, and even the obstacles and challenges and frustrations that are in front of you. Take on a whole new perspective and light. I want you to know, and if I poured it into you, that is my prayer, that you are the controller of this crazy thing we call the mind. Your heart, your higher self is that controller, but we're too busy listening to tune in to what really matters. And it's us, that divine spark, can shut it off when it starts to chatter. and can calm you in times where you can't get clarity. Yes, you can. I want you to just know, I want you to just think this thought. When things get going crazy, I want you to just pretend that your mind has an on and off dial and a channel changer. And I just want you to smile and turn the dial to whatever channel you choose to tune into. And then just watch the magic, the magnificence that will appear in your life and be broadcast into your world. It sounds simple, but honestly, it truly is. So I know that any goal that you have this year, you can make happen no matter where you are. It's that crazy stuff in your brain that keeps you from it. The universe is saying, hey, Terry, I'm talking to you. I'm waiting for you to just ask me for what you really want and then listen so I can show you how to get there. So you guys tune in, because it's a pretty magnificent station you'll tune into.